I coached for around, I competed for around 10 years, and was national team 3 times. I've age group 3 national titles. So, I'm not a Craig Alexander, but I think I did do pretty well with the genetic mix that I was that I was dealt with, and that was off the back of around 55 years of cycling.
Wow.
So road, velodrome, specialist time trialer, and lots of road racing, and then into triathlon when I moved to Singapore. Well,
so you started more as a cyclist in New Zealand, and then you became a triathlete in Singapore only. I mean, more recently.
2009.
Right.
And I hadn't really ever had a swim lesson in my life.
Okay.
But I genetically I sit in the water really well because I have skinny legs and a big chest.
I see.
So my buoyancy is pretty amazing for for a guy. And so
you don't have the sinking legs.
No, I sit pretty high in the water. So everyone used to say, "Oh, you must have been swimming all your life. You got broad shoulders." I got broad shoulders from playing rugby as a youngster, and smashing into people, and as you do in rugby. But so I was quite lucky, and I was typically first, second, or third out of the water in my age group. Then first, second, or third on the bike, and then I managed to transition. I realized that I wasn't going to be the fastest runner because I'm big. Welcome to having a lot of power on the bike. Welcome to being a good swimmer. Downside gravity would mean that I'm a 5-minute K runner, not and that's on a good day. And so I think I knocked out a 48-minute 10K once and at the World Champs, but my bike was 56 minutes.
Right. This is for Olympic distance you're talking about?
40K, and my swim was 23. So, that's what it is in triathlon. Now, could I ever get down to 38 minutes on the run? Highly unlikely, because I was, race weight around 80 kilos. So, gravity. If I'd been...
How tall are you?
I'm 178.
Yeah. So,
I just had to work with what I was, the hand I was dealt with. And in Asia, I did pretty well in that I won the Thai national champs in my age group. And the reason in 2011, I think it was, and the reason why...
Sorry, you won the what?
Thailand national champs in my age group.
In your age group, okay.
And the Singapore national champs in my age group. And the reason why back in those days, it was really early in triathlon time for Thailand, and people were getting into the sport. They were good runners. They were not bad riders, probably not super amount of power, but not bad, but they were poor swimmers.
Right.
So I managed to build a big lead on the swim and maintain or maybe build it a little bit more on the bike, and then just hang on for the win on the run. And knowing that I was going to do my 5-minute Ks, somebody else was going to be running 4-minute Ks out there. But
you just do what you can and try to finish as best as you can.
Yeah. So and look, I said to all my athletes as well, you've got to be thankful for what you've been given. And yes, you can mitigate your weaknesses. And triathlon's a sport of plate spinning, where at any given time you're trying to keep all the plates in the air. You're trying to tweak your swim, bike, run transition, nail your recovery, nail your nutrition, the timing of your nutrition, get your sleep right, somehow cope with being a functioning human being at work and at home, and hashtag insert ad, guess why I have a recovery business? Because I knew the key thing, and the key element to that was going to be was going to come down to how you recovered, to lock in gains and also to remain functioning and viable as well.
Well, okay, how would you define recovery then? I mean, to me, it's some type of rest where your body rebuilds. I mean, that's what training is, right? Yeah, but if you can accelerate that, and if you can lessen the time between sessions and maximize the benefit, I guess that's the idea, right?
Yeah, for sure. Recovery means different things to different people. For example, across our three segments, which is medical, athlete, and equine, because we have a product for the equine industry, for the racehorses, show jumpers, and so on. So if I ask that question of somebody in the medical world, somebody who had a condition, it would be returning to some sort of quality of life.
Right.
And that quite clearly is a big gap between that and what an athlete is looking for in recovery. But just to put things in perspective, that could be, we've been part of a treatment protocol to actually prevent some diabetics from having their legs amputated.
I see.
So because of the vascular decline, if it goes on too long, gangrene sets in, and then the limb has to be amputated. So we've been part of that protocol. So ask that person, it'll be, hey, I just want to walk. I just want to walk.
I just don't want to lose my foot and want to walk. Yeah,
absolutely. So now asking an
elite triathlete.
Yeah. So I think that the weekend warrior is under just as much pressure as the elite triathlete. Why? Because they have far less recovery time. They've got a job to be functioning at. They've got family commitments, and somewhere along the line, because training is a stress, and just like work, excuse me, it's all extra stress on the body. So if you're continually doing a poor job of recovering, you're going to get sick or injured or both. And you're not
like the Kenyans who they'll run and then they'll go sleep for a while, and then they might run again and they'll sleep and eat. Whereas, you know, we have a job, we have kids, we have a wife, we have like 20 other things that are equally demanding, right? Yeah. How do you juggle that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that when it comes to recovery, there's lots of modalities out there. Anything that influences sleep is gold. Anything that influences sleep is gold. And particularly anything that influences the rest and digest system, which is your parasympathetic healing.
Right.
So muscle soreness is not the muscle. It's actually the nervous system.
Right.
And it's not until you get your body into a state, into the parasympathetic state, which is that power nap, that right balance between deep sleep and REM sleep, and a good healthy amount of light sleep, which would be say 50% of your total sleep time or less, then that those are the things that will really influence the quality of the outcome. Of course, there's lots of other factors as well, because you could have an athlete that could be, particularly in this part of the world, they could be potassium and magnesium depleted, and that even though they're going to bed early, that could really mess with their sleep and really mess with their recovery, because trace elements like that do take a long time to build up once they're depleted. Take quite a while to build up in the body. So there's a definition, and there's lots of modalities out there, and I find there's quite a bit of confusion as well. So, for example, where does massage fit into the scheme of things? Is massage a dead modality? Is that something we shouldn't be doing anymore? And the answer from my point of view is definitely you should be having a good sports massage at least once a month, depending on your load. It might be more than that. And what that's doing is ultimately giving your body a good reset, because a lot of the sports we're doing are repetitive, one directional. The muscles are shortening, they need to be reset, scar tissue broken down, and the muscle needs to be reset so that it can lengthen out to return to its normal range of movement and motion. So that type of modality, you're generally going to be worse before you're better. So, you know, when I have a good sports massage, I normally do it in a recovery week or on a rest day, because I know that it's going to take a while for my body to adjust to what just happened. So I would say a good sports masseuse is worth their weight in gold. That modality is once in a while. It might be, for some people, it might be once a week, once a fortnight, or once a month. I think proper recovery protocols are things that are convenient and repeatable.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's every time I do it, it costs me $100, and I have to go to a place that's far away from my house and take time off work, and it's pretty difficult to do. You know, change my shorts, and it's definitely proven to be beneficial, I think, for me when I've done it. Yeah. But it's never been that easy in terms of fitting in with my lifestyle and so forth.
Yeah. So
I mean, I really save it for injury. Like if I know I'm going to get some major injury, or I'm on a huge training block and it's really a critical thing, then definitely I'll go in there and I'll have them take care of me. Yeah. But it's not something I can do on my own or do regularly, easily.
Yeah, for sure. So the percussion guns that are readily available in the market are doing something similar to the masseuse in that they're breaking down scarring and allowing the muscle to move. You could argue whether it's the same as sports massage or whether a sports massage is better. I certainly wouldn't argue. You know, that I think a good sports masseuse who's very intuitive can really get to the bottom of a lot of things. So I think that percussion gun technology does have a role to play. It's, once again, it's convenient and it's something repeatable, but just remember that you're likely to be worse before you're better.
Right.
Because of what it's doing. So I also have been in the habit of doing hot and cold contrast therapy weekly, because as I get older, I'm into my 6th decade now. My recovery, you know, I'm fighting the headwind of decline. I really enjoyed reading Joe Friel's book. Fast After 50.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, so I like his concepts, and his concepts are really geared around maintaining muscle and maintaining the healthy hormones that come with that, and it really geared around things like some of the tips from that book that I have really taken to heart is don't use an alarm to wake yourself up. Now, this is a tough one for us in Singapore and for a lot of countries, because you need to beat the traffic, you know, if you want to get some decent road miles in. But the point that he's making is your HGH levels and your healthy testosterone levels are the highest just before you wake. And if you're prematurely waking, you know, an hour before you are due, you're breaking that, and you're preventing that release or that stimulation. Yeah. So, you know, here's something for the older athletes, which I've got a real passion for. You know, it's, as I've gone on, I'm coaching less, but I'm still exploring things that work and trying to understand what works best for me as well. And so I've kept most of my training in the daylight hours. So I let myself wake up, and my natural wake cycle's around 6 a.m. anyway. So that's great. It's not prematurely breaking, you know, breaking that code or that. That works for you. Yeah, that works for me. And but I typically ride in the daylight most days, with the exception of our around the island. So we've got to nip out and get across the island. Of course. Yeah. So, but that's generally a rule that I definitely follow. So why do we? I'll just add. That's very interesting to me, because I've played around with and thought about sleep a lot over the past few years. Yes. When I started doing like
full Ironmans and was doing so many hours a week. You know, I have to finish my training by 6 a.m. because my kids have to be at school by 7 and I have to take them there. So I have to get ready at 6. So that means I have to wake up at 4. And so to what you said, you know, am I setting an alarm? The answer actually is, of course I set my alarm, but probably more than 50% of the time, I would actually just wake up on my own because I was attuned to that time and that I got that circadian rhythm of probably how it should have been by going to sleep at 8:30 and not drinking alcohol, not drinking caffeine. Basically, I changed my whole life and my whole lifestyle, and I was able to adapt as much as possible without my family even really knowing. So the only disruption was, oh, he's going to sleep again. Okay, fine. But then I'd be done with my training before anyone else woke up. So I found that sleep was one of the major variables. I recently had, what book was this? You might know of it, Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep.
Oh, yeah. I've listened to the Audible. And in fact, it's in my, it's towards the top of my library list because I keep coming back to that book. So I've monitored my sleep for quite a while using my watch. I have a Huawei, and it's quite good at tracking things. So what I noticed, I introduced a couple of things. So one, under my desk that I'm at the moment, and under my keyboard, I have an earthing mat.
Right.
Under my bed sheet, I have an earthing mat. It covers us on top of the mattress, and it's earthed into the plug, into the earth plug only. And it was an experiment that I wanted to do, see if I could improve. My light sleep was a little high. And I noticed that over a month of data that I trended, my light sleep improved dramatically to the point where it was around 4 hours of 8 hours, and my REM and my deep were around 2 hours each. So I pretty much got that really nailed down nicely. And so
interesting.
So that was an experiment. Cost about $150 for that earthing mat. The data looked good, and I was also considering getting a cooling pad. There's a few in the market. There's one called Chili Pad, and basically it's a mattress overlay. It's like a small waterbed, tiny layer.
Okay.
And what that's doing is regulating your body heat down, because a lot of people wake with their legs out of the sheets, and that's your body subconsciously trying to regulate your heat. And if you that it's done that, you've had some disruption to your sleep because subconsciously you've had that going.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, for me, I didn't think I was going to get, because it's around, if you get the original Chili Pad, it's around $1,400. And there are others in the market around $700 or thereabouts. I didn't go ahead with it because I really thought my sleep numbers, I was going to get tiny little gains out of it. And I don't think it was going to be, I wasn't going to get
$1,400 worth of gains.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Now, so coming back to repeatability, so with what we do, the pneumatic intermittent compression. So what that is, you've tried boots before in the past?
Yes, I have a number of times. My physiotherapist gave them to me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Who's your physio?
That was at let's see. That was
it was Bevan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, at Asia Physio. Yeah, Bevan's got our Blue Max series, which is in the picture behind me now. So a couple of things. What I really like about this one, I obviously like it because this is a business, and we've actually extended that out into medical and also into equine, into racehorses with some very good results of horses healing a lot faster. But then we have encouraged people to think of this as a modality for warm-up as well.
Okay.
So measuring muscle oxygen using a sensor that we have, we noticed across a whole lot of athletes that 8 minutes on the boots would bring their SMO, their muscle oxygen, up to the point that would normally take 30 to 40 minutes of physical warm-up.
Interesting.
So you've also got a much lower metabolic cost of warming up.
Right.
So let's say,
For sure.
let's say you're time poor, like all the rest of us. You're doing an indoor bike set. You don't have time to do 30-minute warm-up to really bring your SMO up. So you're just going to bang away and get into your set, after 10 minutes.
I see.
So you're never going to hit the high notes that you would on the back of a good warm-up. I think we'd all agree with that. So there's the biohack. 8 minutes on the boots while you're having a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, whatever it is, in the morning before you go out, will bring you up to that state of readiness. And then obviously locking in the gains, because beyond 8 minutes, it will start to trigger the parasympathetic system. People will start to feel sleepy. It does encourage and enhance sleep quality, but it's also moving the metabolic waste out far faster, mimicking your body's natural process of bad stuff out, good stuff in. So the squeeze and release of the boot is actually doing that. So a couple of points of difference, because we're not the only show on the road when it comes to intermittent compression. Technology's been around for 30 years. But point of difference, we have the most powerful compression in the market.
Mm-hmm.
We're more than twice of two of the major global brands.
Okay.
More than twice the pressure. We also have more recovery modes. So we have 4, but that's really a moot point. Let me reveal a bit of a secret. There are basically 2 techniques. There is, when it comes to intermittent compression, there is peristaltic, which is one zone on and then off, the next zone on, then off, the third zone, and so on and so forth. Or there's sequential, which means starting from the foot and squeezing in a sequence all the way up and then releasing. Anyone that has more than those 2 modes, it's an algorithm mixing it up. So right. We have 4 modes. The other 2 are an algorithm to mix that up, just so people don't get bored. But I wanted to be clear that those are the 2. And in fact, some of our medical practitioners will choose peristaltic for certain conditions, which is that one zone at a time, because it's a little less assertive. But mostly, for most athletes, if you tell them to try both and let us know which you would prefer, they would prefer the sequential mode. They will find it more effective.
I see.
Very common for people to fall asleep beyond about 10 minutes on the boat.
I was just going to ask. Yeah.
And guess what happens to horses when they've got it on?
Same thing?
Yep, you betcha. So
how long does it take?
Horses sleep standing up fair bit of the time. They will lie down about 1 hour a day. So we've experienced it with the stables that we work with. The horses see the boots coming, and because they're now very used to it, and they get this stupid look on their face like, oh, this is going to be great. And and then they get this dopey look on their faces. Their eyes start to shut. The head starts to nod. So they very much enjoy it. And given that the horses here in Singapore are stabled 22 hours a day, they're not in the open, so they don't get a whole lot of chance to do active recovery, to run around and to do their own active recovery. So convenience, being able to use this anytime, any place. We have a battery version, by the way, so you could even be at a race. You could be getting ready for the start line. It could be a time trial. It could be a running race. You could be preloading at a much lower metabolic cost. You still need to do the biomechanical movement. It's not going to get the joints.
Sure.
But you're going to be burning far fewer matches in order to, when the gun goes, at a point of readiness. So that's pretty cool. And the same thing for the stables. We had a goal of being able to change the cuffs and the control unit from one horse to another in 1 minute. Wow. Stables have 60 horses. they have more than one of, you know, they have a ratio of about one of our super boots per 10 horses. So same thing on the human version. You don't have to unzip our cuffs to put them on. You just pull it on because it's deflated. And it's it's very, once you unplug it from the machine.
I see.
Yeah, it's very easy to pull off afterwards as well, because time and convenience are everything. If it's too complicated, people won't do it, and we know the value.
Sure.
Yeah, the value was in that consistency and repeatability. And, yeah. So
it's just like training.
Absolutely.
It's just a supplement to your training. It's a complement to your training, right? So it has to be something you can do again and again consistently.
So think of it this way: it's uploading the gains, the gains, or locking in the gains. That's what's going on. So you know, I've had some athletes say to me, some cyclists actually said to me, show me something that's going to make me go faster. And they, in their minds, they're thinking about a deeper wheel. The latest Envy or Zip or whatever. Well, that's going to be a handful of seconds. And really, if that's the only place you're looking for gains, then you're missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that training makes you worse. Training makes you worse. And it's only when you recover that do you get the super compensation. I've just come off, one of my ambassadors in New Zealand is an Olympic velodrome coach. So I force him to coach me. So as a coach, I've always appreciated being coached, because I learn stuff, and I love to put myself in neutral, not question anything, go through the process and learn a whole lot. So he had me on, I was on a 3x18 set of tempo, sweet spot, VO2 max build over 3 blocks of 18 minutes on Friday. I did a great job, felt great. Now this has been a build. This has been a build over some weeks now, and I felt super good. So I pushed hard. I really put the foot down. I went above my power numbers. Guess what happened today? I had a rest day. I was knackered, even with boots and everything on. I knew that I had overreached. And, but I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow doing my round the island ride. But the point is, training makes you worse. And I knew that if I did any significant training today, I did a bit of gym, but if I did any significant training, I was likely going to dig myself into a hole. Now, at my age, 61, he's got me on 2 rest days a week. Sometimes I cheat because I think I'm much younger than that, you see. And I try and cheat and try and only have 1 rest day. Guess what happens? Sooner or later,
you feel it.
A day like today happens, and I go, oh no, I'm not. So in any case, tomorrow I would really have bounced back. I can feel it already, and that's a combination of doing the right things. Nutrition timing is very important as well, of course. And the older the athlete, I do adhere to Joe Friel's advice of more protein, definitely more protein. So I'm taking some supplements, some Nuzest, which is really gentle on the stomach, pea-based protein, very high in leucine.
What is it called? What protein is this?
Nuzest.
Oh, Nuzest. I got a bottle. I got 2 bottles of it right here. Yeah. Vanilla and I can't remember, but it's like no dairy.
Yeah, exactly. And it also doesn't contain any artificial sweeteners. So for people that are really insulin sensitive, have sensitivity, it won't spike your insulin level as well, which is a thing. So it's actually used as a medical protocol as well to help with folks with diabetes. So in any case, I'm a big believer in that, and I certainly haven't nailed the whole formula, because it's a move for me. I've just found it's a moving target. And
For sure.
you know, my biggest challenge is I think I'm 32 years old.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm in denial, and I try and train like you know, like I did all those years ago, and which is idiotic, you know.
But in a way, it may be physically a bit of a stretch, but at least mentally and psychologically, I think it's the way you need to be. I see too many old people, like people in their 70s and 80s and whatever, even their 60s. Even some of my friends in their 40s have said, "I'm done. I retired." Like I remember, I remember a mountain biker friend of mine said, "Oh, I'm 40 something. I retire. I'm too old." And that mindset in itself, well, if you start thinking that way, I believe you will be old and you will become, you know, like if you want to act like an old guy when you're 45, then you will become one. Yeah, and so that mindset that you have is probably something I want to have until I'm 100 if I live that long.
Yeah, so the big contentious area for me that I've learned to embrace was how much high intensity to do, because I was of a mind where you know, I still completely believe that building a good base is the foundation for, and that strength endurance base is will help you hit the high notes of what you're trying to achieve. So for me, the high intensity thing, now that I'm really enjoying, like Friday's session, yesterday's session, for example, is really needle mover, but it comes at a cost, and the cost is what you need to do around recovery in order to make sure you've not overreached to the point where it's a destructive force in your body. You know, your cortisol's up the wazoo, you're not sleeping properly. So there needs to be an appropriate level of stimulation. And I've always encouraged my athletes over the years that I've coached, because I've coached a lot of type A athletes who think faster is better, more is better. And of course, poison, when what is poison? Poison is either the amount or the duration of you know, taking poison. Either the amount or the duration of it will kill you. It's the same.
Like you can take a tiny bit of arsenic and it won't hurt you, but if you do it for years and years, or you can take a huge dose and die. Yeah, exactly. So it's the same with training. Training is a form of stimulation. If you overreach, it becomes a form of poison, and it's a destructive force in the body. You can have very fit athletes that get type 2 diabetes because they have so much trauma in their body that they don't know how to recover properly. They don't know how to rest properly. So I've coached athletes like this over the years, and one of the great things that great moments I've had in coaching them is where the athlete said to me, "Coach, I'm calling a rest day on myself." Right. These are people that I never have to push, but when they those are the types that wouldn't normally ever say such a thing, right?
Now we're having a breakthrough, you see. So I've really enjoyed it when the athletes come up with that, because I know that they're not lazy, they're not unmotivated, but they're listening to their body, and that's ultimately that's the best thing we can do. Is if we're influencing people or coaching people, that's the best thing that we can do, is to teach them to read the signs. And it could be that they've had a hell week at work, or you know they've got stuff going on at home. They're all stresses. You know, don't create more stress by going out and overloading yourself with more stress with training, because it's supposed to be a healthy activity.
But you know, I'm guilty of that too. And you know, at a certain point, you start thinking, especially when you're starting out, you think, yeah, but if I miss this session, then I'm you know, I'm a slacker, or you know, I'm not going to do well, or you know, you don't understand. When your mind can't grasp the full picture, you will do it, and you will overdo it. And I think everybody goes through that phase where, you know, they get so dedicated and have such, they say, you need to have discipline and consistency, and that's true, but we all have done it to the point of destruction, I think. I know I have.
Look, I also believe that that there's a real power in 8 hours. Let's say you were supposed to train this morning, but you pushed it to the evening, and you felt like rubbish in the morning. And if you push that training session 8 hours, maybe it's 4 hours even, but it could be, you know, from a morning session to an evening session, it can make a world of difference. And it could be that you actually needed to sleep in, that your body was saying, forget it, don't wake me, let me rebuild. I'm behind, you know, I'm in a deficit, and I need to rebuild and lock it in. So I think there's a real power in 8 hours, but there may be just as much power in trusting the process and taking the day off.
Right.
And of course, there's always things you can do. You know, I've got a library of foam rollers, for example. I've got every foam roller known to man. They sit in my cupboard. I look at them and I admire them, but you know what? They don't work unless I actually roll around on them.
Yeah.
The boots are a little bit easier because you just put them on and flick the switch, and they do it.
Of course.
And you know, so I have a set in the bedroom, and you know that's a really good power nap. That's a really good precursor to sleep at night. A real winding down process as well.
Rolling properly is work. You know, I'll break a sweat if I have to do it, like in my certain like hamstrings in certain areas. Yeah. It's not easy.
Yeah, I'm normally crying.
Yeah. It's hard. Now, do you guys have, I mean, of course, as triathletes, legs are our main things, but do you do anything for the other appendages?
Yeah, so we have, in our blue series, which is in the picture behind me, is we have a really good hip and glute cuff. So, yeah, so it's upper quads through the groin, the hip, and the glute area. And it also goes into secondary treatment area is L4 and L5 into the back.
Right, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, and so these are, we're really delighted with this. It took us 9 months to design this cuff. And because we're in different markets. For example, the person in the picture behind me is an All Black New Zealand rugby team. He's quite a bit bigger than your average triathlete, and
I'd imagine so.
Very big quads, and you know, the average triathlete's a lot leaner, and so we have different modalities there. We also have pants. So the pants go from the foot to the waist.
Right.
And so it's treating its legs plus hip and glute in that treatment area. And it's a horses for courses thing, because human body is very diverse in its measurements. Some people have a butt, some people don't have a butt, some people have big quadriceps, some people are long and lean. So we find that somewhere in the mix, we have a sweet spot for different athletes. We encourage people to actually try them. We also have arms and torso. Okay. As well. The torso cuff's been kind of superseded a little bit by the pants, because the pants is treating quite a high area, including problem areas like L4 and L5 is a very common tight area for a lot of people. If you imagine the position on a bike in an aero position, you're loading through your hamstrings into your glutes and then into the lower back. So that area does get quite tight and does need treatment. It does need what we do, and it does need the sports masseuse's elbow as well.
Right.
To help that area lengthen out and function properly again. Otherwise, it'll affect your running.
That's sort of a combination. What is your opinion on, like, not pneumatic, but what's your opinion on compression garments?
Yep. So I'll quote Dr. Stephen Cum, the head vascular surgeon at Changi General Hospital. You're not going to get any worse, but you're not going to get a whole lot better either.
Okay.
So, I think this is supported by a whole bunch of science out there. Fundamentally, for people that wear calf sleeves and so on, if you think they work, then please use them, because there's a placebo effect. But however, the science is at the ankle, the pressure is around 20 mmHg of that garment, and at the top of the calf, it's around 6 mmHg of pressure. To give you a contrast, our boots are 240 mmHg. So and it's moving. Now, the compression garments rely on, because they're static, they rely on you moving to pump. Yeah. And because the pressure is quite small, there's a limited amount of good happening.
Sure.
Now, I think it's better than nothing. And however, and you don't have to plug it in.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt you, but do you really want to spend $65 on a pair of socks? I mean, I interviewed Joe Friel as well, and I asked him what gimmicky things he thinks are out there, and that was the first thing he said. Compression garments. That's his immediate answer. He doesn't think they're really,
Yeah.
But then again, of course, they're not going to hurt you, are they?
Yeah. And look, some people think they're the cure for cramping and all sorts of other things. Well, look.
Go ahead.
Yeah. If you think that way, then don't let me stop you. Placebo. Placebo.
It's not. It's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The other anomaly is ice.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, so ice, because we work in trauma sports. So we supplied Rugby World Cup last year, and we also have we have a partnership with Singapore Rugby and New Zealand Rugby, plus the high performance sports, New Zealand and Singapore as well, and other sports, football and so on and so forth. Short story is ice for trauma. So if you've got a collision injury, hematoma, pain, put ice on it.
Yeah.
However, fundamentally, so ice is used for controlling bleeding, internal bleeding, and for pain relief.
Right.
However, ice will, as a day-to-day treatment modality, will not only delay healing, it'll also mitigate muscle growth.
Okay.
So you're going to lose muscle growth. Right. If you're going to jump into an ice bath thinking that, hey, that's what we should be doing, then you're going to miss out on muscle growth. So,
I see. So
ice for trauma, simple rules. Ice for trauma. Now, when we work with Singapore Rugby at the Sevens, after a game, because they're playing 3 games a day, after the game they'll jump into the wheelie bin. The big plastic of ice, and that's appropriate because they've been colliding. And then it's
presumably the impact has occurred, and there's presumably some injury spread out, and
the other benefit in our environment is that it's quickly bringing the core body temperature down.
Right.
That's very helpful. And then they'll come over and do the compression. They won't spend long in the bin. In the big ice bin, they'll spend a minute or so. So that's totally appropriate. Then they'll come over and to the recovery tent and do a recovery session. Typically, they all fall asleep, which is really good. Now, I would add, hot and cold therapy is, I believe, it's something I do once a week. Unfortunately, it's not repeatable because I don't have a plunge pool, and I'm not going to fill a bath with ice. So I go to a spa called Spa One. It's around about $40 for 3 hours, and we rotate between spa, plunge pool, spa again to heat up, sauna, back into the plunge pool. We'll do rotations of that, and I found, from a joint recovery point of view, that that is quite beneficial. And the cold part of it is the plunge pool is around 8 degrees. So it is an acquired taste, but of course I am from New Zealand, and our water's quite cold, and I'm kind of used to it. But we're not in there long enough. You know, I know this might sound contradictory to the ice mitigating, but this is a quick session of maybe about 2 minutes or so, maybe a little longer in the plunge pool, then heat. So you've got that contrast between capillary.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
I thought that was a long time.
Yeah, well, I do this with my mates, so we tend to have a competition to see who can stay in the longest. So it becomes a real guy thing. See,
reminds me of high school with my neighbors. We used to go in their jacuzzi at 40 degrees and then get out and roll in the snow and then come back in.
Yeah. Well, you know, those are the great things you can do when you've got that contrast. I mean, in Singapore, if you have a cold shower, you don't notice it. In New Zealand or Oregon, if you have a cold shower, man,
oh my gosh,
you're going to notice it. And then you can do so a shower is that modality, that easy modality between hot and cold.
It's just not possible here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, I do believe that's beneficial. If it was a colder climate like New Zealand or Oregon, you could do it daily in your own shower. Here, it's not. You can't get that benefit from it. So going to the spa once in a while is kind of it. I do think there's a real benefit around saunaing as well, and of course, infrared saunas around now as well, and that's triggering autophagy. So it's the dead cell elimination that's making room for new growth, and so you know that particularly in a fasted state, it tends to accelerate it from what I read. But you know, I think that's a modality as well. But it all comes back to what's convenient and what's repeatable. So once in a while, if you do it, that's a good thing. But really, the benefit in what you're doing are the things that you're doing consistently and that are easy to repeat from a convenience point of view. Those are the things that will matter.
Yep, great. Excellent. So like if someone wanted to try recovery systems, how could they do that? Where could they go? Is there a way to do that, or do you have to buy it?
No, there certainly is. So we have a try-buy program, so you can rent it. You can rent it for a month, and if you decide you fall in love with it and it's part of your protocol, part of your lifestyle now, and not just it could be the whole family ends up using it, then we will then deduct the rental off the purchase price. You can also book a demo with us just through our website or our Instagram, which is Recovery Systems. You can book a demo. We're also in other countries, so we're.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, we're in New Zealand, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Australia.
Okay.
So we haven't reached out too far to the US, but we do have a money back guarantee as well. So you know, if somebody bought it and we shipped it off to the US and they discovered, and this has never happened by the way, and they discovered, you know what, it's not what was written on the box or not what I read about, and so on and so forth, then there's a money back guarantee on it. Right.
That's great. That's good. I mean, I think people, that's a good reassurance.
Yeah. So the model that's in the picture behind me, where we've got a Christmas promotion with nearly $500 off, and that's been a big seller. We're fast moving through our stock. That particular model is called the Blue Max, and it's been our all-time bestseller. There's another differentiator for us. This machine and a battery machine, which is called the Black Max Pro, you can put 2 people on it at the same time.
Oh wow! So you can buy one core unit and then have two sleeve sets or whatever they're called.
Yeah, we have a splitter connector, and both of those people will get full power both sides. It won't all of a sudden divide it down, you know, into half.
One leg.
Yeah. There's a slightly, there's probably a 2-minute more ramp up time for both to come up to pressure. That's the only overhead, but otherwise they're both operating. And so the reason why we did that, because it's a really dumb business decision, is, hey, I'm a coach, and I know that a lot of our audience are clubs, teams, and families.
Right.
So,
not just individuals.
Yeah. So
not just pros who are just one guy.
Yeah. So typical scenario would be a family or a club or a team might have one set of legs and one set of hip and glute cuffs, so they can rotate the treatment and rotate folks through like that. So so we've brought that one down to around $650 US, or in Singapore dollar terms, $999. So that is modular. It comes with the legs. You can add things to it. You can add hip and glute or arm cuffs, the duo connector, which allows that two people functionality. You can add those at the same time or later.
Right, so you could upgrade. Yeah.
Good. Kind of a modular approach.
Great, that's cool. I didn't know that. I mean, I've used them only, I think, the physiotherapist, plus who else? Definitely a lot of my friends use them as well. So, but I don't think, I haven't actually bought them. A few of my friends, I'm sure you know all the guys I know.
Yeah. It's a small market here in Singapore, and we didn't know how the year was going to go. I mean, it's been a tough year for everyone. And, Well, one thing that seemed to resonate, the whole recover from home idea resonated pretty well with our market. And I don't think we've been to a single event this year, and understandably, right? But yet we started the rental program. Try it for a month, or even book a demo with us. We do have a couple of shops that are also doing some sales for us, like Red Dot Running, for example. But they're a typical shop. They're selling lots of things. They don't have room to have a demonstration area anymore. And we've really also valued the contact with athletes. We love hearing athlete stories. I'm still active myself, chasing my ever declining watts on the bike, but it's fun. I find it fun, and like I said, I'm really engaged in everything that revolves around recovery, and I'm student and guinea pig number one myself with everything that we do and try. Over the years, that's been things like intermittent fasting, and really giving understanding how that works and how that works for me. And it's a lifetime of learning and understanding what the body requires as it gets older. And I really do like what Joe Friel said, in that typically in the past, once somebody reaches 70, there's a real drop off in power and so on. But the comment that he made is that 70-year-olds in the past are not going to be like 70-year-olds of the future.
I see.
70-year-olds now are still doing high intensity. They're learning to maintain that, and there's a book by Dr. Jeffrey Life, who's well into his 70s now, really has held muscle very well. He's more of a lifter than an endurance guy. But I do believe that we're going to be, particularly with medical advances, we're going to be maintaining our strength a whole lot longer than generations gone by. That's my story.
Awesome.
I'm sticking to it.
That's great. And I mean, my dad just turned 85 last week. He can do 12 pull-ups, and you look at him, he's not strong or anything. He's just a skinny guy, but he's just always going to the gym. I mean, he's not muscular, but he's skinny and he's just fit. So I'm going to be that way too. And it's that mindset, I think, you know, Don't say I'm a certain age and I can't do it.
Yeah, it all starts with the mind, doesn't it?
But how do you recover?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's a lot there. I love what we talked about, Michael. I love the talk about sleep, recovery. I mean, you're looking at the full picture. I can see you're not just isolating one thing and saying that's the end of the story. Yeah. But the entire picture of the lifestyle, the nutrition, everything from protein and all other things. I think those are all relevant. I mean, I'm no expert, but it just sounds like common sense to me to look at the full picture. And so, what is recovery? And what tools do we have out there? What hacks are there? Not hacks, but what workarounds or quick tips or benefits are there that we can employ to extend both our training period for this season and for our lives? So that's really what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you hit the nail on the head. Our product is not some magic wand. There's lots of other factors as well. And even I've discovered living here in Asia, particularly gut health is very important. A lot of people get gut stress, and due to a number of things. It could be parasites, it could be all sorts of different things, the heat and so on. And you could be eating beautifully, you could be eating highly nutritious, right amounts, etc. Sure. But your body's not going to respond because your gut's not absorbing, and so that it's a whole it's like peeling back the onion and figuring out layer after layer of eliminating things that aren't working and working out what a best practice looks like for you. So our recovery is key to that.
Excellent.
Happy days.
Thanks a lot for your time, Michael. Appreciate it.
We'll catch up on the road soon, I hope.